Hello, good morning everyone. Am I audible? Okay, so then if YouTube is ready, I'll start then. So, good morning everyone. This is your first class, I presume, for all the first years. Welcome, students, to MES KVM College, Valancheri. And today we begin our bridge course. And as part of MES KVM College, this is your first class, and I hope this marks a good beginning for you. And today, to talk to you in the very first session on in your bridge course is the topic developing communication skills and soft skills. I think this arrangement of the bridge course with the session beginning with communication and soft skills itself says a lot about how important communication skills and soft skills is. Okay, how important they are. Actually, communication skills are a part of soft skills. Have you heard of soft skills? Maybe you have already, but we'll discuss a little bit about that. What I want to talk to you about is that communication skills in today's world is very important. You may be familiar with the various trajectories that history has taken. We have been an agricultural society before, and we had an industrial economy after that. And now we live more than ever in a service based economy. That's a tertiary economy. You study all these things in economics in your school and all. But we're not talking about all these economic stuff here right now. We are now in a knowledge based kind of economy, but most of it is service based. And when you talk about service based economy, if you're working in an industry, if you're working in a factory, then maybe you don't need much of communication skills. Maybe you just need to know how to operate a machine. You have a huge factory there. Maybe you need to push in some coal into the machine so that the machine will run, or maybe you have to drive an engine, or whatever kind of job that is based on manual labor. But in today's economy, you have so much of these labors replaced by computers, right? And so much replaced by so many machines that it's only necessary to know how to operate them, and to how to operate them most efficiently. The computers, the systems, the programs, and all those things. Or maybe you need to do all the planning so that all your production and maybe your marketing or whatever it is that you are engaged in to make a living works smoothly. So, in that case, it requires a lot of interaction between human beings. So, in a service based economy, what is important is interaction between human beings. And when you have interaction, that is communication, right? I'm not just talking about how to use words. It's not just words that you use. It's all the various different ways. Actually, it's only 7% of, Harvard studies have shown that it's only 7% of words that communicate. It's usually the facial expression, maybe the body language, the tone. There are so many other things that's related to communication. So communication is very important in today's world. And you could say, I think you can see the slide that I've put up. It says stand out from the crowd, express your ideas and creativity. When you talk about all these stuff, what I want to tell you is that there have been studies which have shown that if there are two people who have the same qualifications, I can tell you that this is very true. If there are two people who have the same qualifications and who have every other parameters as the same, if one person has more communication skills than the other, it will decide who will succeed in life. And it's not just about success, where that person will reach. Because communication goes a long way to take you to greater heights. You will be different from the crowd. It's not just that you have a lot of ideas. Of course, all of you who are here yesterday, Rajesh was talking about how some of you, not just some of you, all of you are about 90%, right? 95% actually. So, what is your marks telling about you, right? All of you are so exceptional. You're very talented. You know a lot of things. You have been able to write down these things effectively. That is why your marks have been 95%. So, if you were not able to communicate what you know, you have sat in all the classes, you understood what your teachers have told you, you listened to all of this, and even after listening to all of this, if you're not able to write down in your exam paper what it is that you have learned, do you think you'll get marks for that? That is the same anywhere. You finish your degree, you graduate, you get out of college, you go there, you have a mark list which says that you've got 95%, you've got first rank. You come out of college and you go for an interview, and they ask you certain questions that's not the questions that you have been given notes on, right? You are asked a question, and if you are not able to say what the you know interviewer is asking you, if you are not able to communicate what the ideas are in your mind, what use is your knowledge? It's no use at all if you can't express the ideas. It just stays inside, it stays in your head, it does not go anywhere. So it's very important that you communicate. You have an idea in your head, and that idea should come out in the way that you need that other person, whoever is listening to you, understands what you say, right? So communication skills are important. Actually, I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later. So as an introduction, I would like to hone in this fact that communication skills are very important. And of course, looking at the other term that I've put in my title here, that's soft skills, right? So in soft skills, what are soft skills? Have you heard of soft skills? Okay, you can look into the PowerPoint, the slide that I've put up. You can see over here certain skills. Have you thought about these? Just go through that. Actually, you can see the third one there. It says communicating clearly and sensitively is a soft skill. These are just some of the soft skills which I've put up here, which employers value highly. Okay, so this is something that I've taken from another professor's talk. So this is, he talks about these skills, these soft skills, which are very important when you step out of college, when you are entering the job market. So it's very important that you develop these skills. So it's not that, you just think about how you approach your subjects in college. Is it that you're just studying these things by heart? It happens all the time. Is it just that you are learning this so that you can get some marks? That's what happens in your school, and that's how I think it's different now in schools where you have a lot of activity based, uh, you know, approaches to learning. Learning is a change in behavior. So when you step out of college, we would like you to be transformed individuals, completely changed for the better, so that you become very employable, very, very ready for the job market. So here I've actually, cited where I've taken this from. It's from a tech talk by Andy Wibble. He talks about these skills, soft skills of problem solving, thinking creatively. He talks about all these things, and he says that why are these skills important? You would have seen some people who step out of college, and these days most of the students, of course there's a change in trend these days that some of you are taking up arts and science, but earlier there was only these two streams after plus 2 which everybody thought of. Which are those two streams? You used to think about, okay, I'll take medicine. If I don't get medicine, I'll take engineering, and only these two are there. And after that, if they don't get any of those seats, they'll think about anything else. But nowadays people are thinking differently. But there have been studies which showed that after engineering, most of the graduates who step out are unemployable. It was a study conducted all over India that most of the engineers who step out of the engineering colleges in India are unemployable. Why is that? You study so many things in college. You think about your own course. You may not be doing, maybe, okay, so you're just fresh out of school. You have not had, you have not had online classes also till now. So today is a different experience for you. So, you have been in school last and you were studying a lot of things. Maybe when you were studying chemistry or something, you studied about salt analysis. You get these petri dishes with salts there, and then you do a lot of tests and find out which the chemical is and all those things, right? So do you think when you go, maybe after this you are going into Tata consultancy service, maybe so many other kind of jobs that you get, it's not always in alignment with what you have studied. Or maybe you have studied sine theta, cos theta, tan theta. These may not be used at all in your job place. But think about these soft skills. Just go through that. Don't you think it's relevant to any field of human activity? Right? Actually, Andy Weibel is a professor in philosophy, and he says that any person who steps out of graduate school or school for that matter, when they step out, they change their careers 5 to 6 times. So if you study chemistry, it's not that you're going to do a job as a chemist. So, and no, even if you're doing as a job as a chemist, it's somewhat similar to pharmacist or something. You don't have to keep doing analysis, right? So if you can see that there are so many people who finish their engineering and they come for jobs like maybe customer care. It happens. There are so many people. Even the Kerala government program. In Kerala government's SAP program, you find that it's not the people who are the program managers there, the qualification that they set for that job is BTech or MBA. So those who do BTech, they're going to be setting the timetable for the SAP program. It's not that they are doing some engineering thing in SAP. It's a program for communication skills. I think most of you may know about it because SAP is a program that's there in +2 also. So you find that people who are studying engineering, they're not building roads or they're not building buildings. What they're doing is they're setting the timetable for +2 students, for degree students. They're looking at the accounts of how the remuneration is being paid and all those skills. So if they are doing that job, don't you think these soft skills which I've mentioned here are important for them? Problem solving, they'll have to do it even if they are working in customer care, or maybe they are manager of some particular company, or maybe they are teaching somewhere, or maybe they are into research somewhere, or maybe they are at a managerial post in a factory somewhere. Don't you think it happens? And thinking creatively, that's also important. That is what you find in these kind of soft skills, is that it's not subject specific. It's not this skill, all these soft skills which I've mentioned here. This is not what you need to do in just maybe as a chemistry graduate, or maybe a physics graduate, or maybe a commerce graduate. All of you need these skills because these skills are transitional, these skills are transferable, these skills are foundational. They are very important to any job that you do, in any activity that you do. Even in your homes, when you're doing these things, problem solving, you're a human being and you're in between, you're in the midst of human beings, and you need these kinds of skills all the time. So you find that this is very important. And when I talk about skills, you have to understand that it is learnable. You don't have to think that, oh, I'm quite miserable in problem solving. I'll just start crying when I get a problem. Or I don't think I can think creatively in that sort of a way. If I am given a question and if I'm given an answer, I can learn that by heart and I will ace the exam. I'll get 100%. You can think like that. But that is not the case. You don't have to think that I was born this way. I
Good morning. I think I'm audible. I'll just continue. Okay, I think I will continue there. So there was a interruption in my power, and I had to stop for a moment. Please bear with me. I'll not be able to share my presentation as there's a problem with the connection. So anyway, I'll continue. So we were talking about soft skills, and you saw how soft skills are very important, no matter what job that you're doing. In any job that you excel, any job, if you want to excel, you need to have these soft skills. So, as part of Bridge Course today, I talked to you a little bit about communication skills and about soft skills, and now you know how important they are when you step out of college. So, in
Sorry again. So we were talking about how to learn a skill, right? So I was looking through this book in the library, and I found that there's this book on swimming, and it says that you have to maybe stand by the side of the pool and try to just hold on with your hands to the rims of the pool, and then maybe flutter your legs a little bit, try to go up like that. All those things are there, and you read the whole book. Okay, you take the whole book, you know what to do it. And if I ask you to write about swimming in 300 words, you will be able to write it because you have read through the whole book and you know how to swim, and you do the whole thing and you get 100 out of 100 in your exam. Now, you have not seen the pool at all, or you have not entered the water till now. Now you go into the swimming pool and you think that I am a graduate, I've got 100 out of 100 in swimming, and if you jump into the pool, do you think you will float? What do you think? Do you think that will help you? You can't say that, no, I'm not going to drown. I am a top scorer in swimming in the exam. That's not going to help you at all. Just think about it. So, skills are learnable, yes, but how you learn it is different. Okay, it's very different from how you learn history, maybe, or maybe economics, or maybe politics, All these are different kinds of subjects. A language is a skill. You need to understand that. We'll be looking at that a little bit more. But before that, I would just like to tell you that because communication skills and soft skills are so important, our syllabus itself is designed in such a way that when you come into college, you've got so many different papers that ensure that you gain communication skills. And these are some of the papers. Actually, I've put a little bit of space over there. When you start your regular classes, you'll see that in the first semester, you will have 2 papers in English. That's called common course. Why is it called the common course? Maybe yesterday you already had your orientation and you know that for your graduation, you'll have 3 different types of courses, not just 3. We'll learn about other type of courses later. But basically, these are the things that you will find when you come to college first. That is common courses, core courses, and complementary courses. Okay, so in your first semester, if I talk about BA Functional English itself, you will find that common course is 2 papers, that is A01 and A02. You can see those over there, and you can see the corresponding names of the papers over there. A01 is there, A02 is there, and then after that you've got another paper that's in language, that also again your chosen language, whether it is Malayalam, Hindi, Arabic, whatever. So that is also a common course. It's called a common course because all of the students in college will be doing these courses. Okay, whether you take BCom or whether you take BCA or whether you take whatever, physics or chemistry or zoology, whatever it is, you will be doing 2 papers of common courses. Okay, and apart from not just 2 courses of common paper, 3 courses of common, that is along with language, but 2 of it is in English. Okay, and after that you've got your other papers like core paper, which is your subject. If you are doing BSc chemistry, maybe some of your subject will be, your core paper will be on chemistry, and then you have your complementary. Maybe for chemistry, I think you've got physics and computer and all. For English, you've got 1 core paper and 1 complementary paper. So apart from that, you're doing only 1. If you're doing BA Functional English, you have only 1 core paper that you're doing and only 1 complementary paper that you're doing, but you're doing 3 common courses, and out of 3, 2 are English. So that itself shows how important it is that you learn how to communicate in English. So don't get me wrong, communication skills does not mean learning English alone. You could know a language very well, but you are not communicating properly. You know, is it possible? Just think about it. Think about your Malayalam. You know Malayalam really well, right? You are very good in Malayalam. You've been speaking it since you were born. Okay, maybe not just before you're born. I mean, just after you were born, maybe a little bit after that. Of course, you were talking in Malayalam all the time. But when somebody asks you, come on, go up on stage and talk on one particular topic, do you think it's a cakewalk, or you think, oh, it's a piece of cake? I know Malayalam very well. I'll just go on stage and I'll keep talking. Or maybe you are addressing so many people like this, maybe thousands of people on YouTube like that, maybe. What do you think? Do you think it will be easy for you? So it's not just talking in a language that is communication skills. Communication skills has a lot more than that, you know. It's maintaining eye contact, body language. You can't just stand there and shake in front of the lectern, right? Voice tonality, how you speak, sometimes maybe changing the pitch, or if you just go on in a monotonous tone, that will happen is that people will immediately go to sleep. So you need to have a lot of things, you know, pay attention to a lot of things in communication. But the first thing here, what we're doing here is that you're learning to communicate in English. Okay, so English becomes important here because you already know your language, Malayalam, but try to improve on your communication skills. That will improve into your soft skills bank also. So learn the language. If you don't know, you don't have to be, what I want to tell you is that don't think that I will start speaking in English when I become very perfect in English, when I know all my grammar, when I know all the constructions of language, sentence construction, all of that, phonetics, all of these things. So after I study that, then I'll start speaking. If you think like that, you're never going to speak. So what you need to do is develop your skills little by little. We'll look at a little bit of that also later. But anyway, I think you're seeing your papers here. You'll find that you'll come to college and when you start, you will look at it better. What you have to understand is that in all these papers, when you are studying, you have to understand that it is a skill that you are learning. You can study transactions. You've got some things, I'll talk about that paper later. And you can study ways with words. You have a bit of literature there. In all of these papers, what we are aiming to get is learning a language, learning a skill. So a skill, what does language comprise of? In language, you need to have practice in these four skills. That is listening, speaking, reading, writing. Self-explanatory. I'm being redundant reading that again. So you can see that it's LSRW that you need to improve your skills in. Think about your mother tongue. You know, you have been listening to mother tongue, like we were saying, ever since we were born. So even if you don't understand, a 1 day old baby also is listening to language, right? They are listening. We have no clue as to what they are thinking. They are not replying to what we are talking to them about, but they are listening. Maybe they don't understand, they don't comprehend what we are saying, but they are listening, right? So they keep listening, 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 and one day they start speaking, right? Later, you know, think about yourself, think about ourselves. I was listening to, I started speaking in Malayalam too, and then I went to school and started learning to write in Malayalam. And even before learning to write, I started learning to read. So that is the natural order of language acquisition. So that is the way in which you need to be studying your English language too, your foreign language too. Okay, so listening becomes important. And you find that in earlier textbooks that we used to follow for common courses, you had listening also as a component, but now you do not have listening as a component in your A01 paper or in your A02 paper. But anyway, you are listening to the teacher speak, yeah. And apart from that, I want you to, you know, do a lot of things which gets you to listen to good language. We'll talk about that. So here you find that there are different skills and we can divide these skills into two different categories here. Like you can say that some of these skills are receptive skills and some of them are productive skills. So what are receptive skills? Receptive skills are where you receive something, right? So here you can see listening and reading are receptive skills. That means that you're listening to it, you're receiving language. There's input of language. Only if you input something, you can produce something, right? If you go to a bank, you start a bank account, if you put in some money there, then you will be able to take out this money when you need to go to the hospital, or maybe you need to do some shopping, or maybe you need to build a house. You need to put something in there. Only then you'll get something back, right? You're running a car, you need to put in some fuel. Only then you will be able to run your car, right? So that is important, that you input something. So listening and reading are important so that you are able to produce language. So somebody else is producing language and you are receiving the language, that is listening and reading, and then you produce language. You are saying something, you're speaking, or maybe you're writing something, you're producing language, right? So that becomes important. So listening as such is a very important thing. So I want to tell you that because it's that today's is a bridge course, and today you're going to, uh, develop a mindset with which to approach your papers. I want to tell you that you need to do certain things other than what is done just in class. You need to listen to good language. Earlier, we used to have this book called The Four Skills of Communication for First Years, and they had the CD where you had speeches. You know, maybe you've studied the Martin Luther King speech on freedom and all those things, right? Maybe you've heard about that. So those speeches are there which we used to make the students listen to. But of course, that is that kind of accent becomes difficult for our students also. But what you need to do is that to improve your language skills. To improve your skills in English, you need to listen to a lot of good English. When I say good English, good models of language, which I've written down here, it does not mean that you have to listen to BBC. Earlier, people used to think that, yeah, I have to listen to BBC all the time, but you don't have to do that anymore. You've got so many other good models of language. You don't have to be the British, accent guy or the British accent girl. You don't have to speak in that kind of an accent. That's not what we intend by developing our communication skills. It's only that you need to be comprehensible to those whom you are talking to. When I'm talking to you, you need to understand what I'm saying when I'm speaking to you in English, right? You need to make out what I'm saying. It should be intelligible. My words should be the same. Deciphered or decoded by you in the same way in which I intend it to be said, right? So that is good models of language, which are maybe Indian English itself. Listen to NDTV channels, maybe, or there are so many web series and all these days which are coming in English. These are Indian productions. You don't have to listen to the American accent in English, or you don't have to listen to the British accent in English. We are only looking for intelligible English or comprehensible English. You don't have to try to emulate or imitate the British or the Americans or whatever it is. All of this, English is spoken all over the world. It's a global language now. You can't just say, and recently there were in the papers also that, English should be considered an Indian language, because it's so much Indian now, because we are a multilingual country and English is something that connects all of us, right? So all of this is very important. So you find that listening to good language is important so that you can produce language. And transactions is the name of your A01 paper, the first paper that you will be studying in your first year. And you have to express, these are some of the objectives that have been given as part of transactions, that you should be able to express your thoughts fluently, accurately, in a variety of personal and professional contexts and all those things, right? And just go through that. But all of this can be achieved so that you can use language properly by practicing these skills. These are skills which you do not learn it by heart, you practice it. Okay, so these are some things that you will study in your first paper, that are pronunciation, that is, how to speak of something. Why are you studying pronunciation? It's not because you want to pronounce like a foreigner. It's because you want to pronounce correctly. Like, I'll give you just one example. Like, you're going into a fair, you've got this Trishur Puram going on or something, you're going there, and there are, of course, that's quite huge gathering. And when you go there and you want to buy an ice cream, and you want to buy an ice cream cone, okay, an ice cream cone. What is the spelling? C-O-N-E, right? Ice cream cone. You want to buy an ice cream cone, and you say, Papa, I want to buy an ice cream cone. You say, I want, you don't say ice cream, maybe you say just, I want a cone, I want a cone. If you say cone, that your father may take you to a vendor who is selling corn on the hob. You understand what corn is? C-O-R-N, right? Corn on the cob. That particular, what do you say, cholam, right? You have the corn on the cob, and you are gone, and your father buys you the corn, and you say, no, this is not what I'm saying. I want corn, and your father says, this is corn. But then you see that, no, this is the other thing, the ice cream man over there. You say, there, that one, that's the one I want. So your father says, oh, you want a cone. A cone is different from a con, right? C-O-R-N is different from C-O-N-E. If you pronounce both the same, if you think of Malayalam equivalents, I have seen students write down, on top of these letters, O in Malayalam. In Malayalam, you have only O. You have only one type of O. That's not the case in English. You have con, where you have your open mouth, your lips are spread, and you have the cone, with a diphthong, O, O's kind of sound, right? You need to learn all these things. Only then you will be able to distinguish one word from another. So that's why we learn all these kinds of things, right? Pronunciation properly, vocabulary, you need a lot of words. And of course, I'm telling you, Don't, it's not that you will learn a lot of words from the dictionary, learn it by heart and put these words somewhere in between your talk so that you appear to be very knowledgeable and all those things. It's not how it's done. You need to be able to internalize certain words. So here in your, it's not possible to do that just in one semester. You could work on that by using this word. Keep a journal maybe. I'll be talking about journal also later in your tips. I'll repeat that later. Write down these words which you learn new, and then maybe go over it once again later. And then when you see it again and again, you get to, uh, you know, understand these words, and then it becomes part of your vocabulary. Then, of course, grammar, you've been studying it all, we'll be doing that again and again, okay, so that it just gets internalized for you. And then you need your speaking skills, your reading skills, your speaking skills. Yes, in your transactions paper, you're going to have a lot of, situational kind of conversations, right? So when you are asked to do a seminar presentation, what is it that you will talk about? So those kind of certain phrases are there. Like maybe when you're doing a discussion, or maybe when you're doing a debate, there are certain set phrases, like, you will say that I beg to differ, but my point is like this. Or maybe you will say accepted your point of view, but I think it is like this. So there are so many different kind of phrases that you can use in certain contexts, and you'll be talking about these. And I highly encourage you to practice these conversations, practice these phrases, so that these become part of your vocabulary. Reading skills, of course, read a lot of books so that you can, this is practiced in your classrooms with your other paper that is ways with words. Okay, so I've written literature here. That's because in this book, in your A02 paper, which you're doing in your first sem, you have ways with words. And this is very important. I'm almost up with my talk. And so I want to tell you that it is very important, very, very important. I can't stress this enough, that you read. Okay, so when you have your paper ways with words, you have a lot of poetry there, you have some prose, you have got some fiction there. It's so good to be reading stories. Enjoy your stories, read those stories. Don't think, I have had students in my classroom which they don't buy their textbooks at all. You know, they don't buy their textbook. What do they think? They're thinking that I don't need to buy my textbook, I just buy a guide. Okay, that I don't know what you call it these days. It's called a guide, of course, right? That where you have ways with words and all the question answers and all the answers written there. So I had students like that in my classroom, and when I ask them to write their answers, they'll go home and they just copy that answer and come. And let me tell you, mind you, it's not correct. Some of the answers are utter rubbish, and they just copy the same thing and bring it back. So what I want to tell you is that what I do in my classroom usually, but now it's online, and I don't know how much it will be possible for me to make my students write. Usually in my classroom, what I do is after I make my students read, I tell my students, I don't just tell them the story in the beginning itself. I'll just give them a outline of the story. Then I say, read the first two paragraphs. And they sit and read, and they get some things from it. Then I ask them, did you understand? Yeah, they say, yeah, we understood somewhat. Then I tell them, what is this or what is that? I ask a question. Then I ask them to go into, sometimes some students will give the answer, but otherwise they will go into the same paragraph and they'll read again. So they are getting reading skills, right? They're reading and they are trying to understand what they're reading, and they're trying to respond to it. And apart from that, actually, in your ways with words, it says that the aim or the objective of this paper is for you to be able to appreciate literary genres, understand literature and all those things. But I think it's also a very good and effective tool to increase your communication skills. What you need to be doing is that go into that paper, read it. Don't wait for your teacher to give you the story. You have stories, and after you finish your BCom or after you finish your BSc chemistry, your interview, you're going for a job somewhere, they are not going to ask you, what did Milton say about this? They are not going to ask you, what is the story of Slate the goat? They're not going to ask you anything about the theme of what you have read in literature. They're only going to ask you something about maybe yourself or something you have put in your biodata, something about which you know. And if you need to be able to answer that question properly, your communication skills have to improve. So use this literature also to improve your communication skills. Read it, try to read and understand. Your teachers will help you with that. And when you are asked to write an essay, I try to make my students write these things in classrooms itself, because when they go home, they just copy it out from somewhere. But it's not possible now that we're doing this online. I would like to tell you that it does not make any difference to the teachers that you learn it by heart and write for your exam. Very good, you will get 100 out of 100 and you will get a rank and all, that's good. Okay, so we are also happy. But as a teacher, I would like to tell you, as a teacher who teaches English and communicative skills and soft skills, I would be even more happy if you are able to use your language effectively. If you are able to read an unseen paragraph and understand it without your teacher intermediating in between, right? If you are able to write a paragraph by yourself, not learn something which somebody has written, some substandard answers from some substandard book, and then just copy that down for your exam. That's not what I want. I want you to be able to write. So that's why I've written there, write well. That particular paper will help you to write well. When you are doing something like I've given you an essay and I ask you, why do you think this woman was unhappy in the story? When I ask you that, you have to think why? It's not there. You can't just mark the answer in your textbook. You have to use your brains. You have to think. Why was she unhappy? It's not given in clear terms. Or straightforward over there. You have to think of the whole story, and then you have to think, why did she kill her husband? So you have to think, what is it? What could have happened that she is so unhappy? So try to write that. And when you are writing, you are structuring your thoughts. Actually, when you think in language. So if you are, language skills, using language is intelligent. If you are intelligent, you'll be able to use language. So intelligence is also improved by using language, because your thinking is structured by language. When you tell somebody, I miss you, miss is a kind of concept that is there in your mind. When you have that word, that is there in that culture. If it's not there, that word is not there, that idea is also not there. Actually, think about that. Okay, so that's a bit of a higher order thinking. So anyway, literature is something that you can use to improve your communication skills. Apart from that, actually, in your syllabus, literature is there so that you appreciate literary genres, you understand what is poetry, and if you understand what the story is, you understand, it concerns human experiences, you think about other people. And I like to think also that you think critically when you read literature. When you analyze what is going on in literature, you are able to connect with people of different fields. You're living somebody else's life, and you kind of understand that they are also like you are also like them. All of us are the same. We unite. We are not that other person and this other person. We are all one. We are one community. That's what literature does. It connects you with your human side, not just the numbers and not just the machines and not just the chemicals. You are a human being, and literature actually gets you in touch with your inner self. Read a book. Just go and read a book. And so we're talking about communication skills here, communication skills and soft skills, to come back to what we were talking about in the beginning. You find that communication skills is communicating effectively is a soft skill. If you know a lot of things, and if you're going in front of an interviewer, and if you want to say what you know, you need to have communication skills. And if you think that you'll be able to communicate your thoughts to your employer, to the interviewer, then what happens? You become a little bit more confident, right? So confidence is also soft skill. Yeah, maybe it's a, it's a asset to your personality. So when you become confident, you're able to express yourselves better. You are able to analyze situations better. You are more relaxed. You're more comfortable. Then you're able to speak more clearly. So it's a two-way process, And what you have to understand is that for all this, you need intellectual honesty. See, you may have listened to so many people saying, you have these people with coats on and you have large hoardings on the roadside and say, speak English fluently, come to this center, come to that center. Before there used to be computer centers earlier, but now you have these sorts of learn English centers where people, wear a coat and they say, come on, you can learn English in 2 days or maybe 1 week or all those things. Why are all these things springing up? It's because communication skills are so important. Everybody realizes that. So why are you paying such huge amounts of money and going to such, institutions when you are already taught all these things in college? Right? So when if you just think about these sort of papers where you can improve your communication skills, then that will be the best asset for you. Look at the paper in that sort of a way, look at these courses in that sort of a way, and try to improve your communication rather than just, impressing or not impressing. Actually, you don't impress me by learning anything by heart. You are trying to actually show off that you know all the answers. You learn it by heart and then you write it down. This is very important because I find always in college that students they reach their final year, they're going for their IB. This is a real thing that happened in class for me actually. They come to the classroom and they come to my department, to my cabin, and they tell me, ma'am, we want to go for an IB. Will you write an application letter for us, to that institution? It's a very reputed company. So we want the letter to be good and without mistakes. We don't know exactly how to write that. So could you just write that letter for us? If you are doing your final year in college and you still don't know how to write an application letter, do you think that you can call this person educated? That is not the case, right? So you need to be able to do all these things. Otherwise, then you're not graduate. You're not fit to be graduate. You may get 100 out of 100 or maybe 90 out of 100, and then you graduate and you get the certificate from the University of Calicut, which says that this person has graduated from University of Calicut with a bachelor's in commerce or a bachelor's in chemistry or a bachelor's in functional English. I'm not saying that functional English students are better or anything. Everyone has these problems. So you need to be able to develop all these things. Apart from that, without that, if you step out of college, you're going to be an utter failure wherever it is. So if you know all these things, you'll get confidence. And if you know what you're going to speak, that's also a tip actually. If you want to speak confidently, you will have to know what you have to say. Be very prepared, read a lot, know what I'm going to say, have that structure. That's why I say, when you write down something, you're writing it in a structured way. You have your introduction, you have your main body, you have your conclusion. In your body, how are you going to write? Like maybe you're talking about nutrition, or maybe you're talking about global warming. If you are going to give a speech on global warming, or even if you're going to write an essay on global warming, what will you write about? Maybe first you will talk about the effects of global warming. You'll say that, see, the Maldives, did you see that picture in the newspaper which shows the Prime Minister and his council of ministers in Maldives? They conducted an underwater meeting of the parliament, of the council of ministers. They did that to let people know that this is going to happen to us if you do not reduce your carbon footprint. So when they did that, so that's a huge, interesting kind of thing, though it is alarming also. So you can maybe talk about that first, so that you get the attention of the reader or the listener, and then you can talk about this will happen. All of these islands will go underwater if we do not, stop producing so much of carbon dioxide. You talk about all the effects, what will happen if the Himalayan glaciers melt, the water levels will go up and all those things, and the temperature will be warmer by these much degrees, and these kind of flora and fauna will perish. You can talk about all these effects, and then you can talk about the causes. What is causing this greenhouse effect? You can talk about that, and then you can talk about remedies. So see, so from one particular topic, you got that idea of how you can structure your thought. Sometimes those structuring cannot happen in that sort of a way. Maybe you're talking about nutrition. So when you're talking about all the different elements, like maybe carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, you're talking about all these things, you'll have to maybe talk about, it's not that one is the cause and one is the effect. It is that you have a lot of elements. You'll just use the approach like 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'll talk about 1, then I'll talk about 2, then I'll talk about 3. You can use that effect. So when you are doing, there are so many different ways. Actually, you can think about that when you're writing. So when you use these skills, or like maybe you're using the chronological order, what happened first and then what happened next and what happened next, you are also structuring your mind. Your thought is also structuring. Okay. So when you talk in this sort of way, this becomes very clear to the people who are listening to you. It becomes clearer to you also. So your soft skills improve because you see that you are confident, you know what you're talking about, you know what people understand you, and that is kind of empowering. So you need to improve your communication skills, your soft skills, and before I go, of course, it's 10:30, and I would like to take just 5 more minutes because we did have interruptions in between. So before I go, I cannot complete this class or this session before talking to you about some tips which I can leave to you, for you to, you know, improve your communication skills. I hope you have already understood how important it is. So to improve your communication skills, you need to listen to good language. We already talked about that. So what can you listen to? I told earlier that you could listen to NDTV, right? That's an Indian news channel. There are so many other Indian news channels also. But if you're not interested in news, you have been studying all day and then you feel so bored and you feel so tired, you won't feel like listening to news again. But you don't have to listen to news. You can listen to what you like. Maybe you like something. These days, everybody is watching YouTube and all those things. So when you watch YouTube, listen to English videos, right? Listen to, maybe you like painting, or maybe like my son, you like cars. If you like cars, listen to reviews on cars, right? Listen to something like that. Or maybe all of you listen to songs on Spotify or something, right? So on Spotify, you actually have other kinds of podcasts, other kinds of listening material, like books and beyond, some things which I like. You have podcasts which are called India, the Seen and the Unseen. It's about economics, politics, and the Indian situation actually. So if you are interested in that, you can listen to that. Or maybe you have podcasts about your favorite TV shows, right? So listen to that or watch some TV shows. So if I ask you right now, what are you reading? Will you have an answer to give me? I don't think these days most of the students, or more, not just students, anybody has an answer to this particular question. Earlier, everybody used to have one or the other book that everybody reads. I am reading one book. Maybe I'm reading Jane Austen right now, or maybe I'm reading Nancy Drew right now. Maybe I'm reading Enid Blyton right now. So after that, I start with another book. Maybe I'm not reading it when I'm sitting in front of you, but I'll be reading it whenever I get time. But these days, that habit is going. It's not there. That's not acceptable. If you want to improve your language, read something daily. Are you reading daily? Yes, it should be yes. Yes, the answer should be yes. Are you writing? Keep a journal. A journal. It's almost similar to a diary. But in a diary, you keep records of everything that you do every day. In a journal, maybe you'll write about one particular topic. Blogs and all on the internet, people write about their cooking, and maybe they write about their sports, favorite sport or something. There may be some particular topic that interests you. Maybe you like painting and you write about the different techniques that you use. So keep a journal and write anything about that, or maybe anything that you want to do. It frees your muscles. In your second sem, actually, you have a paper on academic writing. So it's focused on one particular writing, but your writing muscles need to be flexed. Keep writing. Write anything every day in the evening. Just write something that you're grateful for. And then maybe watch something. Watch a web series or something. Or maybe just watch a English. I'm not talking to you about Malayalam. I'm talking to about something in the language that you want to learn. So if you listen to all these things, you listen to how language is used in everyday context, how people use it in conversation. If you listen to news, you're going to get a certain kind of formal language. But when you listen to these kinds of language in serials or in web series and all those things, you will get certain kinds of words and ways in which people communicate with each other, interactions with people. So that becomes important, communicate with people, and learn that by seeing how other people communicate with each other. And on that note, I would like to end my presentation here today. And I hope I have given you an idea on how to approach these papers and how important it is that you improve your communication skills and make sure that you get good marks, but also that develop your skills, come out as a better leader. Actually, good communication skills is equal to good leadership skills. Actually, if you are able to communicate well with people, you are naturally a good leader. That is what studies have proven. This is not what I am saying. Actually, this is what studies have proven. So try to implement what I've said. Thank you and happy learning. I think I'll stop with that now. Thank you.